Hey guys, welcome back to ExpoHub channel. Myself Rakesh, and today let's read this question and try to see what is the right answer for this question. Let's get started. You are debugging a workflow created in the Robotic Enterprise framework. You set breakpoint at the invoke init all settings workflow activity. During the debugging process, the executor is shown as follows. So look at this. So this is where I am going to apply a breakpoint. The moment I do it, what will happen when the step over button is pressed? So when I press the step over button, what's going to happen is the question. Okay. So before we go through all of this, first of all, let's try to do it practically. So I have opened the Robotic Enterprise framework and I'm going to open the initialization state. I will scroll down and here I have the invoke init all settings and I'm going to apply a breakpoint just as per the scenario given. I'm just trying to create it. Okay, now here the breakpoint I have already applied. Let me go to the main and let's say I'm going to hit on debug. I have come to debug and I'm going to hit on debug. All right, so the moment I do it, look at this, the slow step is off. Okay, I have kept the slow step off. Simply I am trying to continue. I am try to debug it. The moment I do it, what would happen? After it has executed all the top activities, here it has paused. The moment it has paused here, right? If I click on the step over button, so that is the question, right? If I am going to hit on the step over button, then what's going to happen? So the moment I hit on step over, what would happen? All the activities that are available inside this workflow, they are going to execute. It is all going to execute, and once everything is executed, this highlighter is going to come to the next activity and is going to pause. Okay, so let me do it for you. Hit on step over. The moment I do, you can see the execution is running and it has completed this activity, and now here in this block it has paused. Getting it? So what is happening? So if you look at the response, the moment I hit on step over, why did I hit on step over? Because I am very confident, okay, this workflow or whatever the activities that I've kept inside, everything is not going to throw any error. So I do not want to get inside each activity and run it. To save time, I wanted to step over. Step over means it's not going to go inside the container. It will execute everything. All the activities will execute one by one as the flow is written. It's going to execute. Once it is executed, it's going to come over here and it's going to pause. So it is going to stop here. So if you want to continue, you hit on continue, it will complete the rest of the process. So now let's go back to the question. Apart from answering this question, I am also going to help you understand step into, step over, step out. What if you get a question around step out? What if you get a question around step into? You should be able to answer that, right? So let's see what is the right answer for this question. First option they have given, executor pauses at the invoke init all settings workflow. Because there is a breakpoint, it's going to pause, but not because you are hitting on step over button. So this is an incorrect answer. How about this one? Executor points to the first activity inside the init all settings. So it will not even open the container. It is not going to open the container. It is not going to get inside that, right? So this answer also incorrect. Let's go to the third. Executor points to the next activity after the invoke init all settings workflow activity. So this is correct. So executor is going to point to the next activity. We just saw what happened. From here it has pointed out to the next activity after what is the sentence? After the invoke init settings workflow activity. After all running all the activity, then it points out there, or it pauses there. Okay, now the fourth option, executor points to the last activity inside the init all settings. So this is also incorrect. So the right answer is this one. So this much we have understood. Okay, I am also going to show you something. many will be confused. For example, let me start from the beginning. Let me stop it. Okay, and here before I could run, okay, I have stopped it. Let's go to the main. The breakpoint is still applied. What I'm going to do, I am going to enable this slow step. I have enabled the slow step this time. Now look at the behavior of step over this time. Okay, so the moment I hit on debug, what's going to happen is going to run. Because I have enabled slow step, it is going to open each of the state. It will go into each of the activity. Slowly it will go, and we can see that. Okay, so look at it. It is highlighting each activity, and at the end it's going to pause it over here. It's going to pause because we have provided a breakpoint. Now let's say I'm hitting on step over. The moment I hit on step over, look at the behavior. What happened? It has actually opened the container and it is going inside the container and doing. So you might be confused, Rakesh, while I'm using step over, it should not get inside the container. Why did it go inside the container? Do you see it has went to the container and it is executing all the activities in the container one by one, and is going to pause. Look at it. So we'll just wait just to see the behavior. So what happened? Why the behavior has changed the moment I hit on slow step? Slow step means you want to see, right? You want to see everything in detail. So because you have activated slow step, even though you have hit on step over, it's just showing you. The job of this is to show you, right? So that's what it's doing. So do not get confused. Keep it off. The moment you keep it off, the step over actual functionality you will be able to see. Many will get confused while experimenting. Okay, so let it run. Okay, so turn off the slow step. If you are enabling slow step, so what is happening? You are asking him to show you slowly, right? So it is going inside and trying to show you all the things one by one. Okay, but look at as per the step over, it has completed all the activity and has paused in the next activity or highlighted the next activity. So it is doing its job. Just because slow step is enabled, that's why it is opening the container. Okay, this is one of the confusion people might have. So let me turn it off. So if it is off, it is going to behave the exact way that we have seen. Now let's go through the documentation of debugging actions. Okay, just type debugging actions UiPath on Google. You should be able to find this page. Now let's read through, because your question may come from any of this: step into, step over, step out. So let me first tell you what is step into. Step into is very simple. It is going to step into each of the activity. You step into to debug activities one at a time. The very simple. When this action is triggered, the debugger opens and highlights the activity before it is executed. Okay, so please make a note of this sentence. The debugger opens and highlights activity before it is executed. So let me show you that. What does that mean? Let me. Okay, so step into, what it does not, the moment you hit on step into, it really doesn't execute the activity. So for example, if I continue, let me debug. So what would happen? It is going to stop here in the breakpoint, right? Give it a second. Okay, so it has stopped here in the wherever the breakpoint we have applied. Now let's say I hit on step into. So what happens? The step into activity, what it does, it first of all it highlights the activity before it executes. So you can see it has highlighted. If I hit on step into again, so see, it is not executing, it's highlighting first. Then if you hit on step into, it will execute and move on to the next one and is going to highlight. Again, if I step into it, it is executes the previous one and then stops in the next one. So every time it is going to pause. It is going to pause before it executes. It highlights, and then if you hit on step into, it's going to execute. Getting it? So this behavior is very, very important. So I said, please mark this line. The debugger opens and highlights the activity before it executes. Okay, you might also get questions around this. When step into is used with the invoke workflow, or if you are using a container, right? Inside a container, when you are trying to run this, what happens? The workflow is opened in a new tab, read only. So the moment you hit on to step into, what would happen, it is going to open that container in the read only format mode, and each activity is executed one by one. Okay, I'm going to show you. So just now you saw it, right? It has opened in the read only mode and is going to execute one activity at a time. Okay, so this behavior should be very clear. Remember, this opens the container. Step into opens the container. Step over does not open the container. It will just execute everything and goes to the next activity and stops. What is step out? Step out, what will do, it will come back to the main container. For example, right now I am here, right? I was doing step into one by one I was doing. So it is highlighting each activity. The moment I hit on step into, it is going to run that. Now let's say I am going to step out. I don't want to go through all this. I want to step out. So the moment I hit on step out, what happens? It is going to execute all the activities and it's going to stop. Okay, so let me hit on step out. So it is stepping out of each container because there are so many containers. It is stepping out of those containers. Container inside containers. Okay, so let me step out. The moment I step out, what is happening? The moment you step out, what happens, if you have already gone inside a container, it comes out, it executes all the activity and comes out of the container and highlights the and pauses at the main container. Okay, it pauses at the container. So read the documentation. So this understanding has to be very clear. Okay, so what I said, read this and mark the required sentences. So let's step over. Okay, unlike step into, action step over does not open the current container. Okay, this sentence is very important. When used, the action debugs the next activity, highlighting the container such as flowchart. It will highlight and it is going to run all the activities inside the container. The action comes in handy for skipping analysis of large containers, which are unlikely to trigger any issues during the execution. Okay, this is very important, and the shortcut for that is F10 keyboard. Okay, step out, as the name suggests, the action is used for stepping out and pausing the execution at the level of the current container. Okay, this word is very important, at the level of current container. So you saw I was inside this container and there were so many other containers, so it was coming out of those containers and pausing at the current container. Okay, not the main container, current container, whatever the container. For example, let me show you. Let's say I stepped into, so that has already executed, so I need to stop and do it again, but I hope you have already got that example while I was doing it. So let's read this. As the name suggests, the action is used for stepping out and pausing the execution at the level of the current container. So it will step out of that container, it's going to pause at the level of the current container. So this sentence is very important, guys. So this is going to pause at the, it is come out and pause at the current container. If I do a step into, what happens, it is going to get inside each activity, it's going to highlight the activity and then it's going to execute. If it is a container, it again will highlight the activity and then execute, but the container, it is going to open the container in the read only format, step into. If I do a step over, what would happen, it is not going to open the container, but it's going to execute everything, and once everything is executed, it's going to stop, it's going to highlight the next activity after executing all the activities inside this container. Getting it? So this, if you got the differences between all three, nothing like it, you will be able to answer any questions comes around this step into, step over and step out. All right, guys, so thank you so much. I hope you have got the right answer. Thank you so much for watching it. I'm going to come up with more such interesting contents for you, and going to also help you with documentation from where you can find clues to this answer or to these questions. You can find the proper clues. You can see the doc. So once you see the documentation and once we have done the experiment, we are very sure that this is the right answer. All right, so thank you, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We are going to meet again in our next content. Take care. Bye bye.